right now on Chronicle in High Definition.
Today, the State House. Tomorrow, the nation's capital for lobbyist John Anton.
If I keep moving forward, no one's going to stop me.
Anton's disability is no match for his determination.
I am going to go further and further and further.
Melanie McLaughlin was told what no pregnant woman wants to hear.
Your fetus has Down syndrome. We just had this really awful decision that we had to face.
Now, with an earlier test for Down syndrome, a private decision becomes a public issue.
We really haven't all come together and discussed the ethical implications, the practical implications, and the social implications.
Plus, living longer, healthier, and happier with Down syndrome. Next on Chronicle. 2007 was turning out to be a banner year for Melanie Perkins McLaughlin. She was at the pinnacle of her career as a documentary filmmaker, and she and her husband Terry were expecting their third child. But after an amniocentesis during her 19th week of pregnancy, McLaughlin heard the words that changed her life.
Your fetus has Down syndrome. And I was just like, everything came out of me. I felt like I was punched in the gut, and I started to cry. And then I called my husband and told him, and we both cried on the phone. And he came home, and he comforted me for a little while, and I stayed in my bed, and I cried, and I could feel her kicking in my belly, and it was just the most agonizing place to be as a parent.
Shaken, the McLaughlins were unsure what to do next.
We changed our mind every half an hour. My husband and I were just really torn about what to do. We didn't know anybody with Down syndrome. We had never had any experience. We really didn't know many people with disability. And I never felt so alone in my decision, because even though my husband was there, I was the person who had already bonded with the baby inside of me. We just had this really awful decision that we had to face with very little information.
Down syndrome is the most common genetic birth defect, affecting approximately 1 in every 700 babies. Dr. Brian Skotko, a geneticist at Massachusetts General Hospital, says those rates increase dramatically with maternal age. People with Down syndrome have one extra chromosome, presenting challenges at birth.
We know about half of babies born with Down syndrome will have some sort of heart condition, many of which need to be surgically repaired. Many times children with Down syndrome will have issues with their thyroid gland. But thanks to medical advances, we could fix the heart conditions. We have medicines to fix the thyroid issues. So a lot of those medical conditions can now be corrected, and people with Down syndrome are living longer than ever before.
The average lifespan for someone with Down syndrome has risen from age 25 to age 60 in the last 3 decades. Today, a baby born with Down syndrome has immediate access to life-changing therapies.
Babies with Down syndrome, when they're born, are getting speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, which we know through research puts them at a significant advantage when they get to school. Schools are now inclusive, so individuals with Down syndrome belong in the typical classroom. People with Down syndrome are now living semi-independently, meaningfully employed in the communities, and these were all possibilities we never imagined decades ago.
Melanie knew none of this before she began to do some research. That led her to the Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress and the Parents First Call program. The program connected the McLaughlins with a family whose youngest daughter, Anna, has Down syndrome.
So I could see that Anna was a little bit smaller. Maybe she was a little bit delayed, but she was just a little girl, and her family adored her. And that, for me, was an important point. It wasn't like we met Anna and I just went, yeah, okay, we can do this. But Anna gave me the hope to think that maybe I could.
After an agonizing process, the McLaughlins decided to continue with the pregnancy. The day after Christmas, Grace was born and was immediately brought to the NICU. Still conflicted, Melanie waited 8 hours before going to see her newborn daughter.
I didn't wait 8 hours to see my other 2 children. I couldn't have waited 5 minutes. I was afraid to go see her because I was really afraid whether I would love her, what she would look like. So the nurse had to wheel me down to the NICU, and I went over, and she was beautiful. She was absolutely beautiful, and I fell in love with Grace that day. And I fell harder in love with her when she had to go for her open heart surgery.
After some terrifying moments, Grace came through her heart surgery healthy. And then Melanie had an epiphany.
I was never, ever gonna question my love for this baby again. You know, ever since then, I've just been her biggest fan and her staunchest advocate, and my whole family adores her, and she's been the best thing, you know, that ever happened to us. She's an amazing 4-year-old little girl. She makes me laugh every single day. She makes me dance every day. We have to dance every day. Lately, it's Christina Aguilera.
Melanie not only advocates for her daughter, but for the Down syndrome community as well. She is now a parent volunteer for the First Call program.
Sometimes they come and visit our home. Sometimes they decide not to continue their pregnancy. And I'm able to talk with those women and their families without judgment, because I always say to them that whatever decision you make, it'll be the right one for you. I think it's just important that whatever that is, you make an informed decision.
An informed decision that is complicated by advances in science and an easier and earlier genetic test. Melanie McLaughlin says today's disability movement is at roughly the same stage of development as the civil rights movement back in the 50s. She finds that she still has to speak up, sometimes loudly, to make sure that Grace gets the same treatment as other children. A change for the better? Women just 10 weeks pregnant can now check for Down syndrome.
These tests are able to predict with close to 99% accuracy whether or not the fetus has Down syndrome.
Closed caption funding provided by Luna.
Call Luna now. Flooring product costs are 70% off.
877-241 Luna.
It's the Toyota Summer Sales Event, and we're putting the spotlight on the longest-lasting vehicles of any full-line automaker. Get up to $1,015 in combined savings on specially equipped 2012 Tacoma double cabs. Plus, 2 years complimentary maintenance saves you even more. But hurry, the show will be over soon.
Oh, can you come downstairs?
In 2007, when Melanie McLaughlin found out her baby Grace had Down syndrome, the only way to know for sure was by using invasive and risky tests like amniocentesis and another called CVS. Those tests are usually done between 16 and 22 weeks gestation. Now, genetic tests can be done at just 10 weeks.
And these are tests where through a simple blood draw, there's no invasive procedure, we could find bits of DNA from the fetus circulating throughout the mother. If we find an overabundance of extra material from the 21st chromosome, then these tests are able to predict with close to 99% accuracy whether or not the fetus has Down syndrome.
That accuracy poses challenges. Geneticist Dr. Brian Skotko says a new study conducted in 3 U.S. states found that 75% of women chose not to continue a pregnancy if they learn their fetus has Down syndrome. Currently, very few women have an amnio or CVS during pregnancy, but the new and easier test will dramatically increase the number of women being tested and could lead to fewer babies born with Down syndrome.
This moment in time where science, I think, has outpaced our discussions on the topic. We really haven't all come together and discussed the ethical implications, the practical implications, and the social implications. And I think the Down syndrome community was first to recognize that, but they are saying loud and clear, we have voices, we want them to be heard. It's a question of, is the rest of the world going to listen?
Melanie McLaughlin worries that expectant parents getting the news so early in pregnancy will not get educated about Down syndrome.
before you feel the baby moving, or, you know, when you're in the first trimester, it's sort of not necessarily as real or whatever, and people might make quicker decisions, or, you know, and I'm not here to sort of judge other people's decisions. It's really not about that at all. It's about asking yourself, is it an educated decision?
Pregnant with her first child at the age of 31, Lauren Falcone opted out of any prenatal testing. 12 hours after daughter Lucy was born, Lauren and her husband Dave were shocked to find out their baby had Down syndrome.
She had jaundice, and then they discovered that she had 3 holes in her heart, and that sort of put Down syndrome on the back burner. I wasn't looking at the signs for Down syndrome anymore. I was looking at the signs for survival. 2 months she had open heart surgery, and then there was a complication, and she went back for another surgery, and at the end of it, I'm like, oh, and now I have to deal with the whole Down syndrome thing, which was smaller, definitely, but longer.
Lauren, a former Boston Herald columnist and current sidekick to morning radio hosts Lauren and Wally, says she came to a point of full acceptance when she stopped looking at Lucy through the critical lens used by medical professionals.
I was just thinking about, like, pushing a baby stroller and taking 6 months off work, and I'm sitting there thinking about tracking of her eyes, and it was really overwhelming, and in a way, kind of invasive, because people are in your house and kind of examining your child in a way that you never thought she would be examined. Then that lens came in where I'm looking at her critically, and then I'd have to switch lenses and look at her like she was my daughter.
What is the first letter we need for bug? B.
Lucy, now 9, is in 2nd grade in the Canton Public Schools. She participates in class with her peers and also gets one-on-one work.
She works on her speech, because with kids with Down syndrome, particularly Lucy, she has low tone, so her muscles are looser. It affects a lot of things. Her attention span, the way she can grasp things. It's just a slower pace, you know? It's like everyone's the rabbit, and we're kind of, you know, the turtle, and we'll get there.
Nice job.
The milestones are that much sweeter, says Lauren, who boasts Lucy is reading, doing simple addition, and engaging with classmates. Lucy has a special connection with her mother and grandmother, Boston Globe columnist Beverly Beckham, who shares a love of show tunes with Lucy.
Who's gonna drive?
Despite the challenges, Lauren sees a bright future for Lucy. Her advice to other parents: try not to worry so much.
I was a little bit nervous when Lucy was born that I would take her out and people would stare. And I realized that the world is a pretty accepting place these days. Just try to live your life and love your baby.
Get married today.
Last Friday, Governor Patrick signed a bill into law requiring healthcare providers to offer accurate, up-to-date information to parents whose children are diagnosed with Down syndrome. Lucy, Grace, and their families attended the ceremonial signing, and evidently Lucy had time for a one-on-one with the governor as well. Smiles all around there. John Anton stuck to his guns. No more jobs in fast food joints.
I said, this is not challenging enough for me here at food service.
Richer, creamier, better. When you want great tasting cottage cheese, it has to be Hood Cottage Cheese, the brand more people prefer. Pair it with fresh fruit, earthy crackers, crunchy greens, or nothing at all. And with twice the protein and half the sugar of low-fat yogurt, it's the only cottage cheese you'll choose. Delicious Hood Cottage Cheese. For more than 160 years. Always good, always Hood.
Imagine a huge warehouse store for women, filled with current season, famous label and designer fashions and shoes, plus timely buyouts, closeouts, and sample sales. Hi, I'm Fanny. Discover the art of the find at the one and only Frugal Fanny's.
K.M. Frank's, brats, and kielbasa. Everything you need to know about what makes them great, you'll know in a snap. KM Natural Casing Franks and Sausage. Celebrate something.
What if the TV schedule was on your schedule? Xfinity On Demand has thousands of free movie shows and more available whenever you want to watch. And Xfinity On Demand is also online. Plus, with Xfinity Internet, you can enjoy all of your favorites at lightning-fast speeds and on multiple devices. You'll get all this and more included with Xfinity. Switch to Xfinity for $89.99 a month for 12 months, or ask how you can get $250 back, a 2-year rate lock, plus double the internet speed at no extra cost. Call 1-800-XFINITY.
With those frames, you're not just pushing a stroller, you're pushing the boundaries of fashion. Work it, work it.
Now get 2 complete pairs, just $99, or 2 pairs of no-line bifocals for $179. Cambridge Eye Doctors.
That works.
It's swimsuit sale time at Frugal Fannies. All the latest swimsuits, every style for every body and every age, on sale now. Famous labels and designers you know and trust at deep discounts. So dive into Frugal Fannies. The prices are just right.
In many ways, 46-year-old John Anton lives a very normal life. An advocacy specialist at the Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress, known as MDSC, Anton also interns at the State House and lives in an apartment on his own.
I love to say this all the time, but I'm a workaholic. When I come home from work, I need to unwind and relax, but I'm always still in my suit and tie. I'm in front of the computer, and I'm still working away.
Anton has Down syndrome. Thanks to early intervention and mainstreaming in the public schools, people with Down syndrome are living fuller lives than ever before. But back in 1965, when John was born, his mother didn't even know what Down syndrome was.
We went to the library and checked out as much as we could find. I read things that told me that a child with Down syndrome would probably not live past 17 or 18 years. I read that a child with Down syndrome would never throw a ball, and John's got gold medals for softball throws, so that was wrong. A lot of the general thinking, whether it was said in words or not, was the ideal situation was to perhaps institutionalize them.
Fortunately, the Antons met one doctor who suggested the family keep John at home for as long as they could, and they did. Jen was a pioneer, knocking on the door of the local Montessori school, asking them to let John into their program. By the time he was ready for first grade, the Massachusetts special education law had been passed, and John entered the Haverhill public school system.
It seemed a little segregated. I was, first of all, devalued. People made fun of me. And people used to call me the word retard.
He really liked going to school. He, in spite of some of the downsides, the teasing or the kinds of harassment and whatever that went on, he liked the socialization of it. I think a lot of his success has to do with the special education system in the city. I think they did a good job.
Upon graduation, John began working at fast food restaurants and supermarkets. But soon, he let his mother know he wanted more.
I said, this is not challenging enough for me here at food service. I said, I want to work with people with developmental disabilities. So the next step forward is make connections, go political, be at the State House, where our voice counts.
Joe Bachman is John's service coordinator from the Department of Developmental Services.
He just said to me, I just want a job where I can wear a suit and carry a briefcase. And I knew what he meant by that. John is volunteering at the State House in the office of Representative Santacandro. Right now, he's working on something called the Real Lives Bill.
John's received multiple honors, the latest taking him to Washington, D.C. as the recipient of the National Down Syndrome Society Advocate of the Year Award. That fueled John's desire to take his political career a step further.
A job possibility and opportunity out in Washington, D.C., moving out there, living out there, and knowing the expenses that I need to have and being trusted. I am going to go further and further and further. And I'm just saying to myself, if I keep moving forward, no one's going to stop me.
Do you need to buy juice?
John's mother and a support person help him budget his money and plan meals at home. At work, John does it all on his own, meeting with other state representatives and lobbying for his cause. Joe Bachman says it's all part of a new approach called self-direction. people with disabilities making their own decisions.
They want a life like you or me. People want to get married. They want real jobs, not just jobs at a Market Basket or Burger King, jobs that are more meaningful.
And what does Bachman think of Mr. Anton going to Washington?
Well, he wants to meet President Obama. And we'll see, maybe. I wouldn't put it past him.
As for his mother, her most difficult task has been letting go, something she wouldn't have thought possible 46 years ago.
What he's doing now would probably have been the furthest from my mind, looking for him to maybe have a happy life with work to do and surrounded by friends. But going in this direction would never have entered my mind. That's all John. That's John's goal, John's focus, John's passion, John's backbone.
As was mentioned, John Anton is lobbying for the Real Lives Bill, which would give Massachusetts adult-age citizens with disabilities the right to make decisions about where they live and work. Lauren Falcone shares her mother-daughter daydreams when Chronicle continues.
This man had dentures that fit so poorly he was in pain.
One woman was so embarrassed by her teeth, she couldn't look at me.
No one should ever have to feel that way.
I put my hand on hers and I said,
"You came in. It just gets better from here."
Right now, new patients get a free exam and x-rays, plus no interest for 18 months on quality dentures and dental care. Schedule an appointment now at aspendental.com or call 1-800-ASPEN-DENTAL.
She saw her new smile and she was so happy she cried.
Now that's a good day at the office.
Starry nights, city lights, comfort galore at an uptown price.
Not at My Bob's.
Why pay $2,500 or more elsewhere?
My Bob's is different, and here's why. Mine is only $9.99.
The taste of rich chocolate fudge and Cape Cod, of sweet cream, ripe blueberries, and Maine. 13 delicious flavors of Hood New England Creamery ice cream make our family part of yours. Hood ice cream. Always good. Always Hood.
I'm flipping over Cozy Shack, delicious pudding. Flip it over, read the back, nutritious pudding. Naturally delicious and gluten-free. I'm flipping over Cozy Shack, the delicious, nutritious snack.
I think you learn a lot about someone when you live with them, when you're married to them. And Scott's always been the one that encouraged me professionally, encouraged me to have my own life, to have my own identity. He's always been very, very sure about the women in his life to have their own lives. He is by far the most understanding of women, probably of any man I know.
I'm Scott Brown, and I approve this message. Go to scottbrown.com to learn more.
Paid for by Scott Brown for U.S. Senate.
It's the Toyota Summer Sales Event, and we're putting the spotlight on great deals from the most fuel-efficient full-line automaker. Save now with 0% financing for 60 months on a 2012 RAV4. Or get a low-payment lease on an all-wheel drive RAV4, only $189 a month. But hurry, the show will be over soon.
Excellent quality, superb choice, and lower prices than anywhere else around. Can such a remarkable place really exist?
Surprise! Quality, choice, and value. That's My Bob's way.
The Massachusetts Down Syndrome Congress began in 1983 when a group of parents wanted to secure the future of their children. Now, the nonprofit advocates for more than 5,000 individuals throughout the Commonwealth, says Executive Director Maureen Gallagher.
We have educational conferences that bring the most important information about Down syndrome to people throughout the region. We have our Buddy Walk, which happens every October during National Down Syndrome Awareness Month, where the entire Down syndrome community comes together to celebrate the lives of people with Down syndrome and to promote acceptance and inclusion.
The MDSC also lobbies to protect the rights of people with Down syndrome. This year, the group created a self-advocacy advisory council made up of 6 young adults with Down syndrome who tell the MDSC what their needs are and what they'd like to see in the future.
People with disabilities don't want to be taken care of. They want to have choices. They want to make decisions about their future. So these self-advocates are really the future of the whole movement.
I know that we're all familiar with the legislators.
At today's meeting, John Anton is encouraging the council to join him at the State House. Christopher May of Newton is thrilled to be a member of the council.
It taught me a lot of things that I did not know in my life. And now, thanks to you and thanks to everybody else, I can make a change in our lives.
Melissa Reilly of Boxborough, a self-described political junkie, is an intern for State Senator James Eldridge. The 26-year-old says she loves the work and the social opportunities the council provides. Melissa recently put her self-advocating skills to good use.
I graduated from high school, and actually that was a really big deal because the high school where I went would not allow me with Down syndrome to graduate with my class. I said, no, I want to graduate with my peers from kindergarten. But one of my fellow classmates did a student petition, and we got a whole bunch of signatures saying that I or other people with Down syndrome should graduate with their peers.
Melissa, now taking college classes, hopes to get her own place and continue to work at the State House. These young adults inspire parents like Lauren Falcone to look towards the future with hope.
I see a really good future. Mostly I think of like hanging out with Lucy at Club Cafe when she's 22 and going maybe to Paris and traveling and doing all the things that the three of us, you know, Dave and Lucy and I will do until she can't stand us anymore.
And Melissa Reilly, whom we just met, is one of many Special Olympics athletes with Down syndrome. And we're looking forward to next month's Special Olympics fundraising event called Over the Edge. Join me and David Brown, 98 others crazy